Okay, we're gonna get started now. I'm gonna go over very quickly through some things that you might have questions about, or just to get you an idea. But then we'll jump to the questions. For that, there's a microphone right there, so if you can queue in there and talk to the mic and then move, that's gonna be easier, so we don't have to go around with the microphone. But yeah. So the goal of this is for you to ask us who work in Godot about anything that you might want to know about the present, the past, the future, or whatever. And just running really quick, as I said, through some of the things. This is a preview of the asset store that we're working on. We we did a couple of test rounds already with some of the creators of some of the popular plugins. But soon we're gonna soon. I mean, we wanted to have it before this week, but maybe next week. We'll share it with more and more people, so everybody can try it out and give us feedback. And first it will be only free assets. The goal will be to replace the asset library that we have right now with the new one, and then later on we're going to be including new people who are going to be selling assets, but they will be chosen by us, so we know what issues they have with the payment systems or with the taxes or whatever. Once we make sure that the guinea pigs are happy, then we start adding more people, like everyone. Then on the donation side of things, we made a change here. We added the one-time donations per year, because at the end of each year, everybody freaked out that the count of euros per month went down. So we said, okay, the good way of showing this is sometimes we get a sponsor and they give us a bunch of money at once. Before, what we did was just divide that by the amount of months that there were left in the year. So that meant that at the end of the year, it seemed like the monthly amount went 20,000 down. And it's like, no, that's just that the sponsorship ended. And whenever we got money again, we added it. So I think this is more clear. But if you have any questions about the donation side of things, feel free to ask. And one thing we want to improve over this next year is how the people who are donating can tell us what they want us to work on. So there is, I'm not sure if you're aware, how many of you know here about the priority list? So, okay, pretty good. So there's a priority list that we made and we published about the things we would like to get done. And one of the ideas we had, but we're still working on it, is letting people who are donating to vote on this, so we know if we need to hire more people in a specific area, just to give you a better way of reaching us out in terms of what do we need. We also started including analytics in our website and documentation, which is something we didn't have before. And we noticed that we had a huge blind spot. The second country that we got the most visit from is China. And that's something we didn't know, because up until now, the only analytics we had were the ones from YouTube or the public places where we could access those. And of course, people are not going into YouTube from China, or they're using a VPN or whatever. So this is helping us out a lot in terms of where the users are and what sort of things we need to do. And all this data will be available for everybody. We do have it private right now because we have to make a nice front end for people to see it, but it will be published in our websites if you want to see it. That helped us inform some of the new initiatives that we have, which was, for instance, localizing the website in various languages, same way as we do it with other parts of the engine. We rely a lot on the volunteers. So this is the website in simplified Chinese, and there's many versions of it now in German, Spanish, and other languages. And we also been working on improving how we highlight the releases, which was very important, especially now that there's a lot of things getting added to the engine. We had people like Adam, especially working on those release pages, so everybody can know which sort of things we've been including and making it easier for everybody. So there is a lot more, of course, and these were just a few things, so you get an idea. You can ask about any of this, anything related with the engine or anything. And yesterday, David gave a talk also about Android and XR. If you have more questions about that or other areas, we'd be happy to help. and let's do just a very small like round of introductions, and then you can start asking questions there by the mic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Scott, and I'm currently a Godot Foundation contractor. So I work full time for the Godot Foundation.
Hello, I'm David Snopek. I work for W4 Games, but I've also been a Godot maintainer since 2021-ish. I'm on the XR team, also the team lead on the GD extension team. I've also worked in a whole bunch of different areas of the engine, the Linux platform, X11, networking, a bunch of different stuff.
And I'm Emmy, the executive director of the Godot Foundation, which means like everything that's not coding, that's what I do. I was the first person actually getting hired that was not supposed to be coding, but I code anyway. Most of the website stuff that we have to add, I do it. And yeah, feel free to start asking any questions about any topics. If you can go to the microphone there and make a queue, that would be easier so we don't have to jump around and we have good audio.
Hi, so I'm a contractor, and one of the biggest things that I hear from clients when considering what engine to use is that Godot turns them off due to the fact that they can't export to platforms such as Nintendo, PlayStation, etc. So I was curious if there's any plans to support those platforms, which would make it easier for more people who do proprietary work to use Godot. Thanks.
Yeah. So this is always like we do get money to work on this, right? And most of the things that we're working on has to be open source and public for everybody to do. And we're looking for ways to making it happen. But right now there is a lot of companies that are offering those sort of services. I don't want to put here David on the spot because the W4 Games actually like provide some of those templates. But for us at the foundation level to offer that sort of thing, like we need to have specific funding to work on those. And if we get donations from everybody and most people are not interested in that, it's hard for us to justify hiring people to work on those exports, especially if they're going to be locked down behind the license that you need to agree with the console manufacturers and things like that. So if there is a way of doing it, we would love to, and we are looking ways to better supporting the community initiatives, like for instance the Nintendo Switch port that was published by some of the developers. It's not great, the performance is not amazing, but it's free and available for everybody. So you can go, and if you are in the Nintendo forums, I think you can go and ask for it, and you should be able to get access to it. But it's hard to say like let's spend as much money as we're spending on the current engine to make these proprietary systems work. And if there is a way of doing it, we would love to, but for now it's not a priority. I don't know if that asks the question or.
Oh yeah, thanks.
And do you want to add anything from the W4 side or?
I guess I'll just say that, W4 Games, as well as a number of other companies, provide the ability to export to those platforms. Most of them do it in like a porting house kind of system, like you hire them, they port your whole game, they end up owning the store page and all of that. W4 Games is a little bit different. You get a license to our software, and then you get the export templates and the tools, and then you do it yourself. I have not actually used it because I'm not on the console team, which means I haven't signed all of the NDAs that let me touch all of the console stuff. But my understanding is that it is done in the most Godot way possible. So you use the Godot editor, you have your computer connected to the dev kit, you can still hit the play button, it'll deploy it to your dev kit, be able to debug it, all of the usual Godot stuff.
I just want to add as an extra, like if people are anxious, and I understand because they don't know if they're going to be able to release the game in a console or something like that, there's already examples in all consoles of Godot games done. So you can point them to those in terms of like, it is possible. You might not have to do it in the traditional way of exporting it and that's it, but there's many already published games. So yeah.
Hello. I wanted to ask if there are plans to improve the editor's UX, especially regarding code editing and the whole tab. Like, I find it super confusing, like how the code is nested, like vertically in like files, and then you have the tabs or the other things there. I have seen issues in GitHub mockups, but those are easily, like people start to bike shed a much. And I mean, I'm a professional designer. I think, what I would do, I would just hire a professional kind of dictator that would just, do it like Blender. So I was just wondering if you have some ideas to work on this side.
Yeah. Well, some improvements, like Adam mentioned, like the refactoring tools and some other things that were very needed, will be included. And for the editor itself, there are plugins that modify that already, so you can turn the sidebar into tabs. And the rest of things are more tricky because there is compromises in all of the solutions, so we need to pick which one we would like to keep or not. But ideally, with a better asset store, people would be able to make a plugin in all the ways you want, and it should be very easy to install. And regarding the improvements in UI, UX, and all that, it's harder to make those changes because most of our community who contributes are programmers who join and have, like the very technical abilities and all that. And the people who have more UI, UX experience, they come in, they join, they don't know who's who, they propose something and they get trashed by everybody telling them like, you don't understand Godot.
Yes.
So they get
Yeah.
driven away. And that's not ideal, right? I tried a couple of times to include some people in the process, but we need to make it more welcoming for them to be able to contribute. I'm a super fan of Tantacruel. I don't know if you know the
Yeah,
guy who's,
no,
yeah.
it's very good.
So I would love to do something like that in Godot, but there's a lot of things that need to come first. And the first one I can think of is everybody's using the passive star theme in Godot, and we might make it the default one in future versions. So we're slowly going towards that. But that would be just the first step into improving many other areas. What we need to do is making the community a bit more welcoming to those sort of contribution and finding a system that once those proposals are made, there's a good way for them to get into the engine without everybody going crazy. And yeah, there's also been some improvements that were kind of like discussed for the mobile, like the mobile editor, like on Android and things like that, where not all the menus can work in the same way. And those are things that we might need to explore in the future, but we don't want to branch it out so much that each experience is different, because then it's something different to maintain in each platform. But yeah, so we're hopefully gonna get some improvements, but it will take some time.
Thank you.
So about that, the thing I wanted to add was like I agree with pretty much what Amy said, and like Godot is like pretty much like I feel the UI, and you'll pretty much I think agree with me, but like the UI is Godot is a programmer's engine made by programmers for programmers, so like UI and UX wise, sometimes like it feels like difficult and not ideal. I think it's an iterative process. It will mean not like it, don't expect an overhaul like for 4.5, but it's more like I talk for personally, like not in the Godot Foundation or like the Godot engine team, but like personally as Adam Scott. So I really think we should like that's what I was talking with a lot of like maintainers here was that we need to find a UI way like in controls, like because like the editor is itself is made by Godot, that's a known fact, but like actually what it means is that when you create the editor interfaces, we use the same methods as you use in your own games to add child and such. But like I would really want to be able to make it so that you could make UIs in Godot more responsive.
Yeah.
So when you resize and such, that you can like stuff we could like move in the thoughtful way and that you can control, and that the maybe like add a way like there's a lot of new stuff that are coming like from Swift UI, from Flutter, that you can really program like there's a you have data and the UI reacts to the data. So if we could have a framework like that or something that works like that, like imagine how the engine could use that. And one of the things that I complain personally about the engine is that it's statically like everything is rigid. Like you have the inspector columns, yeah, you can move stuff, but like you cannot like just drag and like put something like and make it larger and like in other maybe software. So if we could like go towards something like that, I think it could be incredible. So that I would push for something like that.
Hello. All right. So this is in the topic of GDScript quality of life. It's fantastic that we're getting refactoring tools. I'm excited about that. I would like to ask about namespaces. Is there any chance we're getting namespaces in Godot 4? I know we have inner classes, but they have some caveats, some limitations. Like, for example, if you make a inner class extended resource, you can't really export it in the expector. So I end up with like a million different main class name underscore subclass names. so yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, I would love to. I also like developed a plugin that got quite popular, and I would love to have that as well as a feature. There's also a talk in last year's GodotCon by Rosie Otome, who she also asked for namespaces like 5 times during the talk. And I think the main problem, and I'm not a GDScript expert, so maybe I will let you reply, but I think the main problem is that at the moment it's very hard to add those sort of features in a maintainable way. So we are thinking of ways of how we can make GDScript a bit more maintainable first, and then go back to those sort of features we would like to add. But I'm a bit scared because of with the asset store, like I can imagine a lot of people downloading different plugins with the same class names and everything exploding. That wouldn't be nice. So I think it's on the priority list in terms of like something we want to do, but there isn't any release time, right?
No. So about GDScript, we don't have any like news to announce about like new namespace and such. I think Amy, you really like explained well. The current code of GDScript is doing really its job. It's really interesting. But there are some classes and like there's some code that are like obtuse and like difficult to improve upon. So we really want to be able to maintain GDScript in a better way. That's really something that we target. And there's beginning of thinking, like we don't have anything to announce, but like we are thinking maybe about a new version of GDScript, so we could like improve upon and like add all those features that are needed to be able to like maybe to compile and like to be able to like have better performance for GDScript. So there's no timeline. There's no official announcement right now that it's coming for 4.6. No. But what I want to is that we're waiting for Juan's proposal about like maybe improving GDScript. There's other maintainers that want to maybe make proposals about like a next version of GDScript, but like there's no actual like I cannot like say for sure that will come to fruition like in the short term. But like yeah, we're definitely thinking about this. It's a pain for us too, so we understand what you're feeling and what you're living. But like we share the same pain.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. What's the current, like, I was trying to figure out a way to ask this question, which is, what's the biggest hurdle you guys see for the Godot Foundation kind of like in the next year and then like the next 5 years, and how can the community help?
I think at the moment it's more or less like this. All the problems we're having are problems of scale. It was a very tiny engine, right? And the same that happened with GDScript. It was very simple at the beginning, and then it got super complicated, and now it's harder to find people that can contribute. I think that that's potentially something that can happen in all the areas. And there's now more expectations from everybody, right? Like since the Unity thing happened, a lot of big studios started using it and have very big expectations of what the software should be and how it should behave. And there's a lot of commercial entities that also want to offer their products to Godot users, and there might not be like the right places where to do those sort of things. I don't mean the asset store, but also like maybe the engine doesn't have some SDKs or whatever, so they might end up having to do all that themselves. And there's a lot of things that the expectations grew so high that we need to keep up with that. And also internally in the foundation, we were hiring more people, more contractors, so we're able to work on it. And now we are starting to feel like it's harder for us to to have someone in every area, but our goal would be to have at least one person in the foundation that's on each team that can, take care of that. But at the moment, we're just trying to manage how the expectations are of the community. Like, we get a lot of new people coming and trying to contribute. The GitHub issues keep growing. Like, we keep closing a lot of them. Like, if you check the ratio, it's like, like 40,000 closed and 11,000 open, something like that. But I think all the issues we have at the moment, the hurdles we have, are based around scale and how to solve that. We've been increasing a lot of the donations that we got, so that's nice. But I feel that the ecosystem needs to grow a little bit more in terms of other companies that are providing Godot services for users, to make it more viable for everyone. At least that's how I see it in terms of the foundation.
Then in 5 years?
In 5 years, well, we have to deal with, I guess, Godot 6 or... No, I don't know. I hope that there will be more engines, like open source solutions and stuff like that, so we don't have to also have this engine to cover all the different sort of projects, right? It's not like we don't want that, but I think that it would be very good to have different options. And at the moment, it's still very much only Unity and Unreal, like most of the games getting released. And we don't want to suddenly take all of that in terms of like our shoulders, right? Like, now you need to make super 3D realistic graphics, and also like the indie mobile games, and also like it would be nice, like, I was very happy when Balatro made such good news, because it's made in Lua and in Love 2D. So I hope for more of that, and that's something that we're also doing from the foundation, which is collaborating with other open source organizations and non-profit organizations to try to figure this out, because for them it's a bit easier. Like, for the private companies, it's easier to go and raise money to do stuff. For us, it's not so much, because we cannot really, as I said before with the console stuff, we cannot take money to work on things that are going to be proprietary, and we don't want to lose that sort of like open source ethos, right? So everything we work on needs to benefit the community, but we cannot replace all the other tools that are around. So hopefully more solutions are going to come up, and we are going to be able to grow better, like the engine, to provide good solutions for the current people who are donating, who are like our shareholders. so yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Hi. This may be a very narrow question and might not be the right place to talk about it, but I did have a specific Tilemap performance question. I've been working on a tool to use all the Tilemap features with the grid map. And I've noticed while working on this a huge discrepancy between the performance of the grid map, where I can have millions of tiles in a scene on the grid map, but if I show more than 10,000 tiles in the 2D tile map, the whole engine crashes on me every single time. And I just wasn't sure if, like, the tile map features are, and this is specifically in editor, I know there are ways to fix this when you're running the game, but when you're actually using it as a tool, the performance, can be a headache. And I wasn't sure if there was plans to continue making adjustments to the tile map itself, or...
So unfortunately, Gilles is not there to answer the questions. He is our Tilemap maintainer. But what I can say is that if it's not done already, maybe you already did, but like file an issue on the GitHub, the Godot engine GitHub, and how to file an issue is really easy. So you go to Godot engine, github.com/Godot engine. It's /Godot. That's the main repo of Godot. And there's an issue tab. So you can click on it, and then you can create new issue. Well, search for first if there's an issue about it, but I don't think maybe there's an issue already. So you can create a new issue, and then you describe. There's a lot of questions, but like it's simple to answer. And we usually ask for people to do is to include an MRP. It's a minimal reproduction project. So it's like a new project you create on Godot in Godot, and then you do the minimal stuff that you need to reproduce the bug.
Yep.
So you could like, if I were you, I would like create like a huge Tilemap and like say, hey, open that and like see how maybe laggy it is to really operate. So that's where how you create an issue. Sorry, I hijacked your question to
That's okay.
to describe how to create an issue, but like,
Yeah.
and then we can like assign maybe some issues on for our maintainers. So but for so you said that there's actually some things to do to improve it in your game. I'm happy to know that. But yeah, we could definitely improve performance of big tile maps on the editor. Like I'm just spitballing here, but like maybe like culling some tiles if they're not needed, we could. I think it's a solvable problem, but
Yeah, there's
I'm
definitely
spitballing.
already in-game fixes that you guys have released, where you can hide sections and, but like the thing that happens to me all the time, like I'll be drawing in 2D, switching to the 3D tab to see what I did, and then go back to 2D and accidentally zoom out a little bit too far. And the whole thing just got,
So yeah, I suggest you to file an issue and like say, oh, when the problem is when I zoom out, like it's not necessarily when it's zoom in, but like maybe there's some optimization that we could do, like maybe render at a half or something like that. Like I'm spitballing, but like I cannot answer your question directly, but like thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would just add to that the Tilemap is definitely still supported. Performance and these things are definitely important, and we want to improve them, even though us three aren't the ones that will do that improvement.
Hi from Dario as well. I had a question about asset streaming and like mesh streaming, because I think a lot of people, working with a big 3D scene, that's kind of a main blocker for Godot right now. And I know it's on the priorities page, but I was going to ask if there's any sort of timeline or what the plans are for that.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have a timeline. That was what I was gonna say. Like, I know it's something we want, and it's something like, especially when trying to create big scenes, right, with nice demos. Like, you start finding like we would love to have those features, but I don't think that there is any active work at the moment from the foundation side, at least. I don't know if you guys know about anyone working on this at the moment.
Clay.
Yeah.
I know that Clay wants to work on it, but it needs to come down in his queue.
That's why for us, like, we don't have these signals where to get it from other than from people complaining in social media or stuff like that. We try to collect all that and say, okay, this came up very, very often. That's why I mentioned like the voting system. I think it would help, like, if you're donating, to put like, I would love this to be a priority, because realistically and at the moment, most of our users are not gonna be needing that because they're making smaller games, and that's, it's not like a good answer. But we have so many other features that we are prioritizing right now that this one is taking a little bit of the backseat for now. But maybe if everybody wants that, it would be easier to hire someone to work on that specific issue. But yeah, at the moment, I don't think it's coming like in the next version.
Thank you.
Hi. Well, so I want to come at this from a little bit of a different direction. So Godot is obviously a pretty big thing at this point, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. So what I'm curious about is, how do you maintain your own work-life balance in the midst of dealing with something that massive?
Well, it's a good question. It's something we ask ourselves a lot, actually. It's very challenging, especially because the fact that there's so many volunteers in so many different time zones that you could be working 24/7. And the people who end up in this position is because we actually wanted to help, and then we start helping more and more and more, and then we try to take turns in terms of like doing as much as possible async. So if you can have a conversation in GitHub, it's good because you don't have to be online at the same time. But sometimes it's hard to make, and that's why the scale issue is still something we need to fix. We recently posted a new position for project manager because it was getting really overwhelming to manage all the contractors and having all these different priorities and issues. Like sometimes you really don't know who's working on what. There's maybe a volunteer that started working on something and then disappear, and then everybody else think that that person is still there, but it's not. So it's really hard. And at the moment, we try to keep like a focus on the releases, which is something like we can kind of control, and the releases are what are dictating most of our workflows, and the rest is whatever extra we can do. But it's really hard. It's really hard, and especially like a lot of you maybe like even if you're not working for Godot, like we all started like contributing as much as possible, and there's infinite amount of work that could be done. So it's good to, at least for me, what I do is just try to take the weekends off, which I fail many times. But yeah, it's hard. I don't know about you. You do a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
it's really hard. Just as a maintainer, I feel like most of the work that I end up doing is supporting other people, because most of the work is really done by contributors, and the maintainers, well, at least in my case, I'm mostly reviewing other people's code, helping other people work through problems, and then when I can try and work on my own thing, oh, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, it's super hard having a balance, because also, I do Godot for my work all day, and then for fun, I use Godot. Seems quite a lot like work. No, it's very difficult. I don't know if you had anything on that.
Yes, absolutely. So dog fooding in Godot is like not only the engine, but like the contractors and like the contributors themselves are drawn to make Godot stuff. So, but I really must reassure everyone, like as a contractor for the foundation, like it's not. I don't get pressure from Emmy to like, oh, you should work this weekend because this feature is not done. And like, if it can't be done, like it just we ship it for the next release. So like. We do our best. I think everyone that is a contractor for Godot usually like have the passion of the project and they really want the best to happen to the project. But like we're not. It's I myself like it myself to not it myself, but like I just the word like just flew out of my mind. But like I'm doing this myself. So. But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, one good thing we have about the project is like since we don't have any deadlines for something, right? Like we do have some things we would like to get done, like a release every X amount of time, or like having this feature ready. There is not gonna be like a problem if we delay it a little bit more, or like if we miss some of that roadmap items or whatever. We just try to do it as good as possible and focus on the next release every time. But yeah, it's good to not have the pressure to be selling new licenses or things like that, because like as long as people are donating and they're happy with our work, we can keep working on it. And if there's something that's not going good, like we try to fix it. But yeah, we don't have any pressure to be crunching or anything like that. Most of it happens voluntarily, unfortunately, because yeah.
Thank you.
I know we're not really selling it with what we were saying there, but this comes back to the problem of scale, that the number of people using Godot has grown much faster than the number of people contributing to Godot. So I would invite anyone here to come and start contributing to Godot, even in little ways, participating on the Discord or the forum, or even just making issues is a great way to contribute. So that's my pitch.
Speaking of contributing, I'm also like I'm an aspiring contributor to the engine. I have like a pull request I'm working on right now. Yeah, and it's daunting. Like the code base of Godot is daunting, and it's huge. I'm trying to get through all the details to understand what I'm supposed to look for. And I know that's so it's really well documented already how to contribute in the documentation. So kudos for that. And also there's Rocket Chat, so the developer chat, which is really helpful. But I was wondering if you have like maybe like some plans to make like workshops or online workshops for contributors that are like hosted by like core Godot members for like very specific areas of the engine. So if people are interested in contributing, that they can like directly engage with all the relevant members of the team or with other collaborators to like get a better understanding of the whole engine, how everything works.
So having a workshop is a really awesome idea. We should definitely do that. But you can get kind of a mini version of that. A lot of the areas of the engine have their own teams and their own regular meetings. So if you were, for example, wanting to contribute to rendering, you could go to the rendering team meeting and all of the relevant people will be there, and you can, ask them for advice about the thing you're working on, or, how to go about getting it reviewed and merged and all that stuff.
How do we know where those happen at?
So yeah, that's a good question. I think on the Devil channel there's the actual link to the calendar, like in chat.godotengine.org. That's our developers chat. So it's not a general public chat in the sense that you can say, oh, I have a problem with my game. Like that's usually if you want to contribute to Godot and like talking about the engine itself, so the C++ code and like everything that entails. But like I think we should maybe make this this calendar link more public, or if it's already public, like maybe I'm wrong, but like I think in the
Calendar that's public.
Yes.
I don't know where we have the link to it.
That's what I was saying. Like it's more about like the public, how public this link is, and I think when you first go to the Godot chat, I think in the page I think the introduction page, that there's the link also. But yeah, I think we can improve the availability of this link. It's like really like as David said, like it's a Google Calendar, public Google Calendar, and there's the meetings of the team displayed there. And what I was about to say is like, yeah, David is totally right that these meetings are like really like what really bind the teams, because like, yeah, we can chat and such, but like to actually talk to another contributor, like even if they are like on the other side of the planet, that's really nice to be able to. And the other thing was like, yeah, I think for knowing Godot, I feel like a YouTuber, you holding this, but like I was going to refer you to like Juan actually like did some videos on like explaining the core of the engine, but like they're 6 years old now. I don't like, it's been a while, but like
Yeah. The problem with making the sort of content is that it gets outdated quite often if it's an area that gets a lot of changes. But what they say, I want to echo it, like the meetings are open for everybody. You can go in and check it. And you don't have to enable your camera or even chat like with microphone. You can type on the chat and some people will read your questions or whatever you might need. You can also go hang out, see how people are working on, and you can decide later if you want to keep attending and contribute or not. But that's the best place to get started, and that's how I think how all of us get like involved in it. So yeah, that's I think the easiest way. But with so many changes in the engine happening at all times, it's hard to have up-to-date materials about the ins and outs. But it would be nice to have the idea you mentioned about the workshop. That would be great, and maybe something we have to do for next GodotCon. Yeah.
So just before going to the next question, maybe like I think it's a personal appreciation. I want to shout out like the code base of Godot, because itself, like, yes, it's very daunting to see all those files and such, but like when you understand like the structure of it and how it works, like it's one of the cleanest code bases that I know. And it's funny because before I started contributing to Godot, like it's been like since 2020, I've done two PRs, but like since 2022, I've been doing regular commits and such. But like, I really didn't really know C++. I was like I was a programmer and such, but like I really like wasn't like super well into Godot and C++ per se. But like the code base is so clean and so useful. It speaks by itself. So it's really easy to be able to understand what happens and such. So really, I encourage you to compile Godot yourself. it's really it compiles like a charm also. So really go ahead, hack around, just tweak some stuff, and like see what it goes. Like what the worst thing that can happen is that it crashes, and you'll see where it crashed. So yeah, go ahead and hack around.
So this is sort of a nebulous question, but I'm curious to hear about the decision-making process at all of these different scales in Godot. Like, how do teams decide on what to work on, what to not? Is it consensus? What happens when you get to like roadblocks? How do you decide how many teams there are? There's just so many different like levels of decision-making. I'm curious to hear about what your process is for deciding all those things.
Consensus is usually the most important thing, especially when there's a team meeting. Like, people have to be on board with the solution because there's many solutions for every problem. So we need to pick one at least. And the other thing is there are some criteria in terms of like how useful this would be for everybody versus for a very small set of users. So a lot of the times we do get people that are very passionate about one fix in particular or one feature for the engine that makes more sense as an extension or something like that. And we try not to get everything in. And that's how we had this sort of like the proposals system, right? Where we can get an idea of how many people are going to be impacted by something, depending on the amount of people who are getting involved in that proposal and the reactions. But we also sometimes need to work closer with games that are already published and are doing well, and there's teams who are relying on these things. Sometimes they arrive at solutions and in their own forks, and then they can send it to us because it will help everybody. So I hate to say it depends, but it really depends on each of those. And I think consensus is the most important thing when you are deciding if this is something that will benefit everybody or not. But yeah, that would be like a short version of it.
I just wanted to add that the development of Godot is very team-centric. So anything in Godot, anyone can come and review and give their opinion on, but to a very large degree, the team responsible for each area is the ones deciding what goes in for that particular area. There's just a lot of trust. The rendering folks know rendering. What they are going to decide to put in is what goes in, for example. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
So yeah, I totally like what they said. Like agree with, but like also like Godot is very consensual, and we really like listen to what people say, and like the reaction, like when people like are not happy about a feature or new stuff, like we feel it and we react upon. But we always consider it's not because we stick with something that was really like that had a lot of reactions was the like recently was the UID additions of UID files. We hear people complaining about this. I think it's really like something that hurt, like not hurt, but like yeah, it's like maybe some people and they don't like it. But I think overall, I think we need to outweigh, like we need to weigh the things. But like we still hear people. It's not that we like sometimes you need to make a choice, but like we still like really are conscientious of what people are thinking. But like internally, like maintainers are like we are talking like between ourselves like all the time, and when there's something that is happening, like we are constantly in discussion about this. So yeah, like there's like I say, when I say collegial, like when I say like it's a teamwork, like not only the teams per se, like really like can direct like where they are going, but like the maintainers themselves, we are like always talking and making decisions together. So yeah.
And is there like a formal, when one team does something that is at odds with another team's decision, is there a formal process for resolving inter-team things, or is it just sort of that free-flowing
More
consensus
than what exists? Yeah. I mean, like Adam was saying, like we're all in a chat together. We're all constantly communicating. It's super rare that anyone would ever do something that's at odds with another team. If one team needs to touch something that touches the responsibility of another team, they're going to talk about it and work it out before anything even happens. Yeah, it's. I may have accidentally made it sound more formal than it was, but it is a fairly informal thing, and we are in constant communication, and consensus is the rule of the day.
Thank you.
So one of the biggest things that I've struggled with in the past with Godot is interoperability between C# and GDScript. With the introduction of the asset store, one of the biggest issues I could see is having assets specifically for C# and GDScript to be separate, even though they do the same thing. Is there plans to basically make it possible for them to interact with one another, where, for example, I could extend a GDScript in C#?
Yeah, for sure. Like that's something I'm considering. Like it's even in the roadmap that we have internet for the asset store. There is already like a priority list for the asset store in particular, and that's one of the main items because I did speak with many plugin developers, and that's a very common issue, right? Like even myself, when I was making my own plugin, when I was making it only GDScript, people that came with C#, they wanted to use it, and it's like somebody needs to make the bindings for it, and there are ways, and many people have systems to make it automatically and things that we can explore. So it is something important, and the goal also with C# is to integrate it all in the single binary. So it will create less fragmentation because at the moment you would need to have like a different version of Godot depending on if you're using C# or not. But in the future that would be much easier and straightforward. I don't know how that will look like, but it is a priority. And ideally, you would just get a plugin and use it via GDScript or C# or any other language that you're using. We'll have to see how that looks like, but it is important for us.
Okay. If I yeah, about the merging of C# and like the Godot. I don't want to say standard Godot, but Godot without C#. Like the idea would be like I think like in my last talk on the web, the state of the web and Godot, I didn't enough I think the slides went super fast, but like I really need to shout out Raul Santos. Raul Santos? Raul. I pronounced it in English, sorry. So Raul did a lot of work. Is a contractor, a Godot contractor for all C# stuff, .NET stuff, and not only they are working on like making Godot available on the web, GDScript, C# available on the web, but they are working on with the fabulous technology that is known as GDExtension. And David is the maintainer of GDExtension. So to make it like how we're gonna do this, if I understand well, maybe I'm wrong, but like it's more about to make C# and .NET like essentially a GDExtension, a native GDExtension, like a GDExtension that lives in Godot, but that will use and so for the users it will not change, but like internally it changes everything so that we can bundle Godot instead of like building Godot statically with C# and such and have two versions, to have really one version. And then when you create your project, or when you I think you could change your mind and like integrate it afterwards, but like you could literally like add .NET to your project. So plugins that require .NET, you just like toggle your .NET in your project and then the plugin would work. So I think you were going to get much closer to your idea what you're thinking.
So that sounds like a very big undertaking. I'm assuming that's not planned for Godot 4, like future
for Godot 4,
5.
I don't know what's going to be in 4.5. We might have some step to that even in Godot 4.5, but it's not totally settled yet.
Yeah, but it's more closer than further apart. So
yeah, we are actively working on it, and we plan on releasing like an experimental build of all these kind of combined soon. You can already build it from Raul's branch if you want to, but yeah, it's coming soon, and that's something that we will release. It's not something that we are waiting for later, and it will be a Godot 4 thing, not a Godot 5 thing.
All right, thanks.
I just wanted to add on the GDExtension side of that. This is a problem we also have in GDExtension of having like a GDExtension made in Rust, being able to extend a class in C++, for example, which is something that we have a plan for, and I really would like to get back to working on. I have some old branches if I ever find time to do it. But yeah, it's something that we really have to solve in GDExtension, and the .NET moving to GDExtension is really pushing that, because then that will be the exact case, right? If you have, if C# is GD extension. You make a class and you want to extend it from another one.
First of all, thanks for the talk. Thanks for the AMA. My question is this. You guys have been working with people like Second Dinner and Megacrit and whatnot to make these larger projects in Godot. Are there any other, and you've also made W4 games to kind of start the commercialization, like starting for like larger companies who want to use Godot for commercial purposes. Are there any other companies, are there any initiatives to promote Godot's usage for larger game projects, larger applications and whatnot? Are you working with other people to kind of make this happen and work with them to see what they need in order to make Godot more scalable?
Yeah, we are not directly working with any big studios, but those studios, for instance, sometimes like the relationship could be like they have some engineers in their team that are contributing to Godot, and they work with us trying to upstream whatever makes sense to upstream. And also the ecosystem is growing, and there's more people like trying to offer these sorts of services, as I said before. But it's still not really our priority. Like if they would be wanting us, and by us I mean the foundation, to be working on something in particular, they can donate to us, and that means that that donation would be for this particular use for everybody to be using. But what we want to have is a very mature GD extension system that people can extend the editor with whatever they need, with their pipelines, whatever they might need to integrate with other software and stuff like that. We've been collaborating a little bit with Blender lately with the project that they're doing in Godot, so they have less issues in terms of like GLTF importing and all that. And slowly that's gonna make it easier for everybody else. But there isn't really any sort of like big studio at the moment that I can talk about, because the ones who are working, they do have NDAs with other companies that are consulting companies that are doing Godot stuff. There's W4, but there's also like Prehensile Tales or Lone Wolf for other companies that are doing that. And yeah, we're seeing still like there's many bases to cover. We've seen, for instance, the Godot release recently, which is like the iPad version of it, and that's something that I think it will happen more often now, which is somebody taking the base of Godot, extending it, and then making something like a tool for making that. And that also then helps us improve the engine for everybody. We also have like a tool by Toon Boom that's also been made based in Godot, and I think we're still in that initial phase of trying to get the ecosystem running and making enough products so that we can improve Godot for everybody. But our priority is the people who are donating, who are making games every day, publishing on itch.io like 1 million games, and that's what we focus on mostly.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
If I might add, you were saying like that we founded W4. I just want to correct the foundation. The foundation itself didn't spawn anything. It was individual members that are members of the board, and even not board, members of the board that founded like a new company, but like they are like in distinct company, and the foundation itself is like really directed like towards like making Godot progress and like making sure that the features for everyone, the needs are well met. But like Second Dinner is working with W4, so but like we're constantly, even if W4 is not like a spawn of the foundation, we're directly communicating with like the folks at W4, and a lot of them are maintaining Godot also, and like Prehensile Tales, and like as you mentioned, all the other parties like Zogot, like and Toon Boom, like they are upstreaming their changes to Godot, and that's super awesome. So yeah, like we're constantly like tending the air to be able to like improve Godot as much as we can.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right, so you guys have posted some like awesome info about features and like your documentation, and particularly when Godot was moving to 4.0 with multiplayer stuff, right? You guys also posted on the blog, and at this point, it's like become this thing where it's like, okay, there's a lot of like, I guess decentralized is the right word, but maybe it's not. Basically, a lot of decentralized information where some of it's on Reddit, some of it's on YouTube with independent creators like yourself, David. And not to, I don't know, it's weird to first name. Sorry. Anyway, autism. Basically. my question is, are you guys planning to like re-centralize that at any point? Are you guys comfortable with where the ecosystem is as it is? Because on the one hand, it's really great to be able to go to independent places, because like the way I would ask a question on something like Discord is different from something like Reddit, or if I just need something kind of simple, I could get a YouTube tutorial or even the documentation. But at the same time, it can also be a little bit difficult to be like, okay, where is the right place to ask this question? Because for instance, with like physics interpolation, you guys have this great thing on your documentation. There's like literally like a tutorial for it with exactly what I needed, but I had no idea for that, and I was like Googling some other stuff until it like finally got surfaced. Is there a plan for anything like that, or?
Our goal is to focus on having a very good documentation, so everybody that's making educational content can use us as a base to then teach. That's unfortunately not always the case. There's some tutorials that are only tutorials that they don't have any documentation pages, and the other way around, some tutorials that are not really accurate to what you should be doing in the engine, but there isn't any other source of truth than the documentation. And all the efforts that we have are dedicated towards that, and it gets updated a lot. At the beginning, there was a lot of memes about the documentation being kind of lacking. There's one video by Mrs. that's really funny about it. But since then, up until now, we hear the opposite. Like, a lot of people really like our documentation, so we've seen that that's been working well. But to centralize all that knowledge somewhere, it would be really hard, and also like it would limit a lot of people, creators of creating their own stuff. I started making tutorials. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. But then all the tutorials I made right now are outdated. So if we mention them, some of them eventually will get outdated. And it's a bit tricky to keep that up to date. Who's going to be curating the videos that are up to date and all that? So our only goal is having a good documentation page and having everybody going there. And if you also created some videos, so.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is that the docs and even the website blog, I mean, is all open source. Yeah. So anyone can contribute to the docs. Anyone could write an article for the blog. I don't know that we'd accept it necessarily, but it is open source. You can go make a PR. So yeah, I'd invite everyone to try and make the docs better.
Yeah, and just to conclude, I have something to say? Documentation.
Pressure. It's okay.
Documentation, I think like it's the same issue that you could have with any product.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Imagine like other engines like Unreal or Unity. Like Unity was known for having an extensive community that has a lot of tutorials and such. So I think that as a project, we concentrate, as Amy said, on the documentation. I think we want to have the best one. Yeah. Not necessarily compared to others, but like
the best
per itself, to be the best and to be better and such. But like per se, like sure, like for some details and like some things that we don't think needs documentation, or we didn't have time to document, like maybe there's YouTube videos about it, and like maybe there's other. Like there's sometimes blog posts from the team that explains the feature, but like it wasn't integrated in the documentation. So yeah, sorry, I don't have an answer on like centralized, but like
I have to say that we are very in close contact with a lot of content creators, and they sometimes reach out to us to make sure that what they're doing makes sense for everybody, and we put them in touch with some people that are more expert in those areas. So I want to say, like, even if some YouTubers get like a lot of bad rap for making tutorials like that, a lot of them really do take a lot of time and care, and they get the help that they need. For the Brackeys videos that he made, like, he got in touch with us and we put him in contact with some people that could be able to help him to make sure that everything that he was teaching was actually legit. It was not like whatever, right? But still, like, after he released that tutorial, we changed some things in the tile maps, so part of it is outdated now. So it's a bit unfortunate, but it's like that. We don't have more time, but we're gonna be around all day, so please feel free to come, say hi, ask me any questions, and I will be happy to help. And I want to really thank you both for coming as well, and enjoy the rest of the day.